Loulan, also called Kroran or Krarana, and known to Russian archaeologists as Krorayana, was an ancient kingdom based around an important oasis city along the Silk Road already known in the 2nd century BCE on the northeastern edge of the Lop Desert. The kingdom was renamed Shanshan after its king was assassinated by an envoy of the Han Dynasty in 77 BCE. However, the town at the northwestern corner of the brackish desert lake Lop Nur retained the name of Loulan. The kingdom included at various times settlements such as Nia, Chark Lake, Miran, and Kim. It was intermittently under Chinese control from the early Han Dynasty until its abandonment centuries later. The ruins of Loulan are near the now desiccated Lop Nur in the Bayan-Golan Mongol Autonomous Prefecture, Xinjiang, and are now completely surrounded by desert. History. A 3,800-year-old female mummy, the first of a series of mummies now known as the Tarim mummies, was discovered in Loulan in 1980, indicating very early settlement of the region. Loulan was on the main route from Dunhuang to Korla, where it joined the so-called Northern Route, and was also connected by a route southwest to the kingdom's seat of government in the town of Wani, in the Chark Lake, Rawakyang Oasis, and from thence to Khotan and Yarkand. Early Han Dynasty. The first historical mention of Loulan was in a letter from the Chani of the Xiongnu to the Chinese emperor in 126 BCE, in which he boasted of conquering the Yuezhi, the Wusun, Loulan, and Huji, as well as the 26 states nearby. In 126 BCE, the Chinese envoy Zhang Qian described Loulan as a fortified city near Lop Nur, because of its strategic position on what became the main route from China to the west. During the Han Dynasty, control of it was regularly contested between the Chinese and the Xiongnu until well into the 2nd century CE. In Book of Han, the early interactions of Loulan with the Han court were described in some detail. In the 2nd century BCE, Emperor Wu of Han was interested in extending contact with Daeon after receiving reports of the country from Zhang Qian. However, according to Chinese sources, Han envoys to Fergana were harassed by Loulan and Goshi. In 1008 BCE, Loulan was attacked and its king captured, after which Loulan agreed to pay a tribute to Han China. The Xiongnu, on hearing of these events, also attacked Loulan. The king of Loulan therefore elected to send one of his sons as a hostage to the Xiongnu, and another to the Han court. The king of Loulan was then taken to the Han court and interrogated about his association with the Xiongnu. The Book of Han records, the emperor commanded Zhen Wen to lead the troops by a suitable route, to arrest the king of Loulan and to bring him to the palace at the capital city. Zhen Wen interrogated by presenting him with a bill of indictment, which he answered by claiming that Loulan was a small state lying between large states, and that unless it subjected itself to both parties, there would be no means of keeping itself in safety. He therefore wished to remove his kingdom and take up residence within the Han territory. Han Shu, Chapter 96a, translation from Hulso A. 1979. The Han emperor was satisfied with the statement and released the king. In 92 BCE, the king of Loulan died, and his countrymen requested that the king's son be returned to Loulan. However, the Han court had castrated his son for infringement of Han laws, and so it refused the request, claiming that the Han emperor had grown too fond of him to let him go. Another king was installed in Loulan, and again a son was sent as hostage when demanded by the Han court. After the death of this king, the Xiongnu returned the hostage son sent to them, named Chang Gui or Ngui, to Loulan to rule as king. The Han, on hearing this, demanded that the new king present himself to the Han court. This, on his wife's advice, the king refused, on account of the fact that neither of the hostage sons sent to the Han court had been returned. In 77 BCE, the Chinese envoy Fujizi was sent to kill the Loulan king after several Han envoys were killed. He arrived on the pretext of carrying gold and valuables to the outer states and intending to present the king with gifts, but stabbed the Loulan king to death while he was drunk, and had the severed head of the king hung from the northern gate tower. The king's younger brother Vaituki was then installed as the king of Loulan by the Han court, and the kingdom was renamed Shanshan. Shanshan, after the Han Dynasty had gained control of Loulan, the renamed Kingdom of Shanshan became a Chinese puppet state. The newly installed king, fearing retribution from the sons of the assassinated king, requested that a contingent of Han forces be established in Yizhen. Chinese army officers were sent to colonize the area and an office of commandant was established at Yizhen. A number of settlements in the Tarim Basin such as Kim and Nia were described in the Book of Han as independent states, but these later became part of Shanshan. While the name of the kingdom was changed to Shanshan by the Chinese, the Loulan region continued to be known as Kruran by the locals. The region remained under Chinese control intermittently, and when China was weak in the western regions, Loulan was essentially independent. In 25 CE it was recorded that Loulan was in league with the Xiongnu. Around 119, Banyong recommended that a Chinese colony of 500 men be established in Loulan. A later military colony was established at Loulan by General Su Man. It was recorded that in 222 CE, Shanshan sent tribute to China, and that in 283, the son of the king was sent as a hostage to the Chinese court during the reign of Emperor Wu of Jin. Loulan was also recorded as a dependent kingdom of Shanshan in the 3rd century Book of Wei. The town of Loulan was abandoned in 330 CE due to lack of water when the Tarim River, which supported the settlement, changed course. The military garrison was moved 50 kilometers south to Haito. The fort of Yingpan to the northwest remained under Chinese control until the Tang Dynasty. According to the Book of Wei, King Bilong of Shanshan fled to Kim together with half of his countrymen after an attack by Zhu Kanzhou in 442 CE, so Shanshan came to be ruled by Kim. In 445 Shanshan submitted to the northern Wei. At the end of the 6th century, the Sui dynasty re-established the city-state of Shanshan. After the 5th century, however, the land was frequently invaded by nomadic states such as Tuyuhun, the Ruan Khaganate, and the Dingling, and the area gradually was abandoned. Circa 630, at the beginning of the Tang period, Shan Fuchua led the remaining Shanshan people to Hami. The Buddhist pilgrim Shanzang passed through this region in 644 on his return from India to China, visited a town called Nafubo of Loulan, and wrote of Kim. A fortress exists, but not a trace of man. Descriptions in historical accounts. According to the Book of Han, Han envoys describe the troops of Loulan as weak and easy to attack. Shanshan was said to have 1570 households and 14,000 individuals, with 2,912 persons able to bear arms. It further describes the region thus: the land is sandy and salt, and there are few cultivated fields. The state hopes to obtain the produce of cultivated fields and look to neighboring states for field crops. It produces jade, and there is an abundance of rushes, tamarisk, the balsam poplar, and white grass. In company with their flocks and herds the inhabitants go in search of water and pasture, and there are asses, horses and large number of camels. The inhabitants are capable of making military weapons in the same way as the Chor of the Qiang tribes. According to the commentary on the Water Classic, General Suo Mai of Dunhuang introduced irrigation techniques to the region by damming the Juban to irrigate the fields and produced bumper harvests for the next 3 years. The Buddhist pilgrim Faxian, who stayed in Shanshan in 399 on the way to India, described the country thus: a country rugged and hilly, with a thin and barren soil. The clothes of the common people are coarse, unlike those worn in our land of Han, some wearing felt and others coarse serge or cloth of hair. This was the only difference seen among them. The king professed law, and there might be in the country more than 4,000 monks who were all students of the Hinayana. The common people of this and other kingdoms, as well as the Sramans, all practice the rules of India, only that the latter do so more exactly, and the former more loosely. A record of the Buddhist countries. Translation by James Legge. Inhabitants. The early settlers in Loulan were an Indo-European people called the Tocharians who lived in the region as early as 1800 BCE. Their language is sometimes called Tocharian C. However, the official language used in the region from the 3rd to 4th century CE was Prakrit, written in Kharosthi scripts, perhaps introduced by Gandharan migrants from the Kushan Empire around 200 CE. The local language was not recorded except for proper names and around 150 loanwords in the Kharosthi scripts. The Gandharans also introduced Buddhism to Loulan. Archaeology. Sven Hedin. The ruined city of Loulan was discovered by Sven Hedin, who excavated some houses and found a wooden Kharosthi tablet and many Chinese manuscripts from the Western Jin dynasty which recorded that the area was called Kroran by the locals in Kharosthi. Oralstein made further excavations in 1906 and 1914 around the old lake of Lopenur. Stein recovered many artifacts, including various documents, a wool pile, carpet fragment, some yellow silk, and Gandharan architectural wood carvings. A walled settlement lying to the north of the lake. The thick wall is made of packed earth and straw, and was over 1,000 feet on each side, and 20 feet thick at the base. It contains a large stupa and some administrative buildings and was occupied for a long time. This is usually thought to be the city of Loulan. A site with stupa at 13 kilometers to the northwest of the a fortified town lying 30 kilometers to the northeast of La. It is the only known city in the region with a northern gate, since a northern gate was mentioned in the Han Chinese text about the assassination of the king of Loulan. This is therefore suggested by some to be the capital of Loulan in the 1st century BCE, before the Han Chinese gained control of the region. Others, however, argue that the northern gate does not refer to Loulan but Changar. The site was occupied until the late 3rd century CE. 10 kilometers to the northwest of La, containing building foundations and a cemetery. Archaeologists discovered the body of a young man in a wooden coffin, wearing a felt hat and leather boots and lying under a woolen blanket. A bunch of feather twigs was placed beside him in a similar fashion to many much older burials found in the region. A walled city to the west of the lake with only a single gateway in the city wall. This has been identified as Haito by some archaeologists. A fortress lying 5 kilometers northwest of LK, similar in construction to LK, but smaller. Chinese Archaeological Expedition, 1979-1980 in 1979 and 1980. 3 archaeological expeditions sponsored by the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences Xinjiang branch performed excavations in Loulan. They discovered a man-made canal, 15 feet deep and 55 feet wide, running through Loulan from northwest to southeast, a 32-foot-high earthen dome-shaped Buddhist stupa, and a 41 feet long by 28 feet wide home, apparently for a Chinese official, housing 3 rooms and supported by wooden pillars. They also collected 797 objects from the area, including vessels of wood, bronze objects, jewelry and coins, and Mesolithic stone tools. Other reported finds in the area include additional mummies and burial grounds, ephedra sticks, a string bracelet that holds a hollowed jade stone, a leather pouch, a woolen loincloth, a wooden mask painted red and with large nose and teeth, boat-shaped coffins, a bow with arrows, and a straw basket.